Okay, this is Kelsey Grill, May 7th, 2009. As we look at your fly, Kelsey, you can see that you're a one-kick flyer. What we need to do is, the kick is decent on the entry, but we need to add a second kick in as the hands exit. I think the rhythm of the stroke is good, and I think the hand placement is decent, although you're a little close on the entry. We want to set those hands in either just at or just outside the shoulders and then bring them underneath our body. Dropping the elbows a little bit, but the big issue here is the lack of two kicks. And you can see that here on top. Just there's a real pause and a hesitation in the stroke right there. You know, if we could add that second kick in, that kick serves to kick your hips up, and that'll help you get through the water a lot easier and set up a much better IM. Towards the end of this, when you're pushing your hands back, you've got to remember to flare them out, because you kind of get stuck and you have to really wrench your body to get your hands over. If you flare your hands and get your head down a little bit faster, arms will clear the water a lot easier. It'll make your stroke a lot easier, a lot more efficient, and set you up again for a much better front end on a 200 IM with a lot less fatigue going into the backstroke. Into the backstroke, decent underwater dolphin kick. And I think your kick tempo is pretty solid. You've got a little hitch. You can see it. Your legs tend to kick really straight on the first beat of the 3-beat on each side. Stroke-wise, when I look at your hands, they're pretty shallow, particularly your right hand. You can see that right here. It's coming up really high. We want to try to keep that lower, and the way we do that is by rotating more. We've got to rotate the head of the shoulder out of the water, and that'll drive that other arm down. And if we can combine that with a more rhythmic kick, one that's a more consistent kick instead of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I think we're in a much better position. If you look at your arms here on the surface, you can see that as they come over, the head of your shoulder never gets out of the water, and it keeps you real flat. And since it never comes out, look at all the water that you're disturbing as your hand passes your head and on its way to the entry. We want to try to keep that shoulder up, stabilize it with a steady kick, again, so we can move through the water more efficiently. Here it's almost that you're fighting against the water a little bit. But with those small corrections, I think we can make this a much better stroke, again, to set up a better breaststroke and freestyle leg in your IM. Breaststroke, good pull out, doing a lot of things right there, especially waiting until your hands split to lift your head. And the front end of this looks really good. I really like how you get your hands out quickly. I think that's good. One of the things that we've got to work on, though, is your head position. And ideally in your breaststroke, what we want to see is a head position that when your hands get thrown out, your head goes down and you're flat, kind of like you are when you come off a wall in that nice streamline. Here, your head never gets down. It's always high, and that keeps your hips low. If we can get that head down, it'll get your hips up, give you a flat back and a flat neck, and that'll make your stroke a lot more efficient. You know, again, as we look at this here, I like how the hands are getting forward. You're just running into a wall with your head in that position. It keeps your hips low, and it's almost like you start to swim uphill. Again, that's just an easy correction to make, where we get that head down and kick through the streamline. Puts us in a much, much better and much more efficient situation. I think the kick is pretty solid. Towards the end, you get a little wide with your knees. Keep those knees in and make sure you finish that kick every time. Into the freestyle, elbows are dropping quite a bit here. You can see there, as you press back, rather than letting the elbow hinge up and stay high on the water, you drive it down and let that elbow fall down. We've got to try to keep the elbows higher. That way we can make a little bit more of what looks like a pretty good kick here. Pretty steady, pretty strong. But again, you see that little hitch in your kick. Sometimes you don't kick all the way through your breathing. Whenever you take that breath, that's when we've got to keep those legs strong, smooth, and solid. I do think that breathing every 3 would help you here. I think it would balance your stroke out quite a bit more. Like what you're doing over the water. I think it looks pretty good. Maybe a little wide with your left hand. But again, the two big things we need to make sure we're doing are, kicking through the breathing. And again, I think we can help that by breathing every 3. And then getting the elbows up. Thinking about that hands up front skull where we keep our fingers below our wrist and our wrist below our elbow. That's what we're trying to accomplish. Nice job.